Welcome, everybody, to the NARPM Radio Podcast. I'm your host, Pete Neubig. And as I say every week, we have another incredible show here today. So today we have Matt Speer, is the founder of propertymanagement.com. We're going to ask him a little bit about how he actually got that URL. So that's a great URL to have, where he's on a mission to bring trust, transparency, and data-driven credibility to the property management industry. As a lifelong investor and operator, Matt built and scaled a PM firm in Indianapolis before launching propertymanagement.com as a category defining platform. Whether he's building ranking algorithms or mapping the national property management manager graph, he's obsessed with one thing: helping great operators stand out and win. Matt, thanks so much for being here today, buddy.
Thanks for having me. That's a great intro. I like that.
Well, you wrote it, so it should be a great intro.
Yeah. A little chat GPT assist, I'm sure, in there in some way. But yeah, that definitely helps in this new AI world we're in.
All right. So I got to ask real quick before we get the cliff notes of your story. Do you also own PM.com?
Don't own PM.com.
Okay.
That
That would have been
that
nice.
would probably be a pretty expensive domain, just with the like couple letters. But our team does internally, property management's a mouthful. Every property manager like has that problem where it's just like how many times you're typing and writing property management. So we do internally call it PM.com sometimes.
Yeah, I like that. So all right. So tell us, give us the cliff notes of your story, and then we'll talk about propertymanager.com and how that came into effect. But just talk a little bit about your background.
Yeah, so my first job out of school, I was working at a venture-backed tech company. I was in a sales role, very well funded. When I think of that experience, I think of the little hoops set up in the sales room. I spent most of my time, in between sales calls with the little Nerf hoop, but definitely was very much into that like tech scene right out of school. But I studied finance and entrepreneurship, and I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I didn't have any money or any backing, but I was fortunate to be in Indianapolis, where it was a very hot real estate market. And so I got into real estate investing, learned everything I knew at that point through Bigger Pockets, which a lot of property managers I think have engaged in Bigger Pockets or maybe even get some of their leads from there. And so really what happened, I started investing, doing like the BRRRR process, like buy, rehab, rent, refinance. Investors were putting money in, and I was on the side balancing this tech job, but was doing, rehabs and full stop the investing experience there. And then sort of just accidentally became a property manager. We had about 20 or 30 of those. And I'm like, well, I am pitching that we keep these and hold them and drive equity, and somebody's got to manage them. And that was me to start.
Interesting. All right. So you exited the property management firm, or do you still have it?
So we got up to, so I quit the tech job, and kind of my next step was going all in on real estate investing, and through that experience going from like 30 to 100 doors. I'll be honest, when I was at 30 doors, I accidentally became a property manager. Like I did not like property management, didn't see myself doing it long term. You guys all know today, on propertymanagement.com, so something changed there. But really what changed is I saw the recurring revenue. I saw the opportunity where, technology systems, like there's just a lot of opportunity and upside in the industry. And so at about 100 doors, I brought on a business partner, Kenny Hall. He runs Livendi day to day today. So I'm more like passive strategic in the property management business. But I mean, we've been building that business since I think 2017. So definitely kind of living and breathing the, day to day property management kind of
You
mindset.
got the best of both worlds, man. You still own a PM firm, but you're not doing the day-to-day stuff. That's
Yeah. I think that yeah, it's just about like role. A lot of people I think are into like EOS and just knowing kind of like where you drive value and trying to get yourself into that spot, or maybe the book like the one thing. It's like how do you find the thing that you're good at and really push it. And so for me, yeah, I like the strategy kind of high level part of this, but yeah, I saw an opportunity with propertymanagement.com to really solve a lot of my own problems as a property manager. And so, yeah, that's definitely my sole focus right now is building propertymanagement.com into what I think the industry needs.
right. So easy segue here. So tell me more about propertymanager.com. Like to me, it's just a URL. What does it actually, I go on there. What does it
Yeah.
actually do for us as a property management firm?
Yeah. So at a high level, propertymanagement.com is the trust layer for the industry. If you think about the business right now, like if you talk to an investor, a homeowner, their biggest like pushback or feedback would be that there's no trust or accountability when hiring a property manager. There's no way to know that a property manager, what they're telling you about their operations is actually legit. And there's actually a lot on the line for them, right? Like, they're well, oftentimes they've got one or two properties. I think that's like the average investor. So it's a big deal to them. And so they're really just kind of gambling with their ROI in most cases when they're choosing a property manager. Sometimes they get it right, sometimes they get it wrong. And it's sort of like for us, we want to be the Carfax of property management. You think about that industry before Carfax came along, show me the Carfax, the Fox.
Hmm.
Um, there was no trust or accountability. Like if you went to a car dealership and you said, "Hey, I want to buy this Honda Accord," the used car dealership, the kind of sleazy side talking salesman's saying, "Hey, this is the best car that's ever existed. This little old lady's owned it, never been in an accident. She rarely drove it. This is an
Right.
amazing car. You should buy it." Well, you're like, you know what? I trust this guy. I'm going to buy this car. 2 weeks later, it's broken down on the side of the road because there was no trust there. And so with our TrueMatch score, we're really looking under the hood and ranking a property manager based on performance, cost, credibility, and trust, providing them a TrueMatch score so that we can give confidence in investors, making it easy for them to find the best property manager. But then also the outcome is that property managers then can stand out and use this as a huge differentiator, just for how they can compete in their market.
So you're very similar to my company, VPM Solutions, where you're a double-sided marketplace. If I have it right, you have to excuse me. You have to find property managers to input their information, and then you're basically going after investors to drive them to propertymanagement.com so that they can go find a property manager. So you're matching investors with property managers. Do I have that right?
Yeah, that's right. But we're the one way we're really approaching it differently is that we're creating a new category. We're not selling leads. Um, we won't ever sell leads. As
Okay.
a property manager, I'm tired of buying leads.
Yeah, it's kind of like that. What was that APM? What was it called? I used to hate it. They would sell us leads. They would sell it to like 15 different property managers. You get on the phone, and if you didn't call back in like 13 seconds, they would be gone, and they were all just tire kickers. And
Yeah.
I'm trying to think what the name
Well,
of.
I think it's like all property management is what
Thank
a lot of
you.
people
Yeah, call
use.
OPM,
Yeah.
all property management. Yep, yep.
Well, if you think about it, it's funny you mentioned that. If you think about that experience, first of all, if you ever want to prank your friend or like family member, like the best possible prank, or maybe even like a fantasy football punishment or something, would be sign them up as a lead on all property management, and they're gonna get phone calls and phone calls from BDMs, and it's just not a great experience. And
On either
we're
side, it's not a
either
great,
side,
on
no,
either side, not a great experience for the investor or for the property manager.
Well, an investor, they might have searched something on like ChatGPT or Google or whatever and said, "Hey, who's the best property manager near me?" Something like just, "Hey, I'm looking for a property manager."
Basically they Google it and they look at reviews, right? That's been the way to do it in the early 2010s, 20s, whatever it is. Yeah.
Yeah, and you see the ad or you see them show up and then you click it and you as the investor, the homeowner, you feel like you're going through this like white glove service to this like matchmaking process. Like, oh, this is going to make it easy for me and my needs to find the best property manager. But the reality is, it's whoever's paying them to show up is going to
Right.
reach out.
Yeah,
They and
or on the other side, whoever has the best SEO.
Yeah, whoever has the best. Yeah, the
Best SEO or to whoever's paying allpropertymanagement.com the most money.
yeah, and the company with the best marketing plan and budget sometimes is the best property manager. Like, let's be real, but oftentimes it's not, right? And especially that how fragmented this industry is. Like we need ways for our companies as property managers to stand out and for us to like, how can we play by a different set of rules? How can we play, chess while everyone else is playing checkers? Like you don't, if all we do is say, "Hey, here's my sales pitch. We're better. Our days on market's this," like you're just going to churn doors to your competition that, is saying the same things. And so it's this like, I think in my sales deck, I call it the infinity loop from hell. It's just like you're caught in that loop, in that cycle. And like we need to find a way to differentiate. And I think propertymanagement.com, what we're trying to do with our TrueMatch score, will do that in a lot of ways.
Okay, so let's break this down. Let's take it on the side of the property managers first. Then I want to take it on the side of the investor of the experience. So obviously, I know when I was building VPM, before I even launched it to property managers, I had to get enough remote team members to create a profile to have, some people there. So that when you are looking for a job or sorry, to post a job, you want to see that there's actually somebody in the database. I'm assuming this is the same type of challenge that you're running into, that you have to get the property managers to kind of buy in first, put their information out there. Then when you launch it to the investors, now they have a good pool of property managers. So I'm assuming that's how you're tackling it. Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a bit of that chicken and the egg problem with how we're approaching it because we need the data to determine the true match score. It forces us to, essentially add paying customers to get onto the platform and fully adopt the system. We have our team's really good at data, and so we have the ability to estimate your true match score. And so that allows us to sort of predict, what would a non-verified property manager score be? And so we have like nationwide coverage in terms of like what the companies in our database. We're going to be launching a top 100 campaign, and this will be something that our company does on like an annual basis, where we're going to be literally ranking the top 100 property managers in the nation objectively by the true match score. And that'll include the top property managers in each market as well. And I think that's just a great way for a property manager to sort of dominate their market. Like, hey, if I'm the number one property manager verified by TrueMatch on propertymanagement.com, like say in a big market like Dallas,
Yeah.
and we got plans to have like billboards locally paid for by propertymanagement.com to where it's not just this online presence, it's like the physical real world presence of like, hey, here's this billboard propertymanagement.com with, a specific property manager number one in the market. I don't know about like people listening, but I'd want to be that property manager that is able to stand out in that way, right? But it's not something you can just pay for. You can't just come in and say, hey, how much money to be the number one market, number one rated property manager in a market.
So let's talk about, all right. So I have a property management firm still today, kind of like you. I run VPM, but I'm an owner of a property management firm, but I couldn't tell you what the hell's going on in that firm, right? I just meet with my business partner once a month, and we kind of go over stuff. So how do so let's just say Texas Lone Star Property Management, it's my new management firm, wants to get into propertymanagement.com. What are the steps? What does that look like? We'll talk about pricing later, but it's just like, what information do I need to be able to upload so that you guys can actually use your I call it talent match on VPM. What are you calling it again? I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's true match.
True match. Okay. So we call it talent match. You guys got true match. I love it.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah, we're two peas in a pod with the vernacular there. But yeah, our system's pretty simple. Right now, we do a 30-minute like discovery call. We want to make sure we understand like what your goals are. Are you focused on operations? You focus on growth? We can obviously help in both facets, but you have that 30-minute conversation with us. If it all makes sense and you want to jump on board, to get verified, it's two 20-minute phone calls. So the first 20-minute phone call is with our COO. Ava handles all of our verifications like hands-on, because it is so important that we get that right, and we follow that process diligently. But if you're using Appfolio, Buildium, Rentvine, whatever tool you're using, you have two options. You can either add us in as like a read-only access, and we'll communicate the reports we're looking at, but we'll pull those reports ourselves, use that to then on the next 20-minute call, present the score. And also there's really cool insights that comes from that, right? We can say, hey, you're an 87. Here's your path to 92. Here's your top three areas where if you know, take your renewal rate from this to this, you're going to see improvement. And usually in that call, they're like, yeah, I know we've had that problem. Like, what are the best property managers doing to fix it? And so it sort of becomes like a KPI kind of operational process as well. But you do those two 20-minute calls, then you're launched on our site. And then that's really where the fun begins, because we're also really trying to help property managers navigate this. I'm calling it like the AI tsunami that's coming, and
Yeah.
like how people are finding property managers. And that's really where the fun begins for us as a next step.
Are there anything that you would recommend that somebody do even before the call to prepare to get a better score? Like, do you have a checklist that somebody could download off the site to say, okay, let me go through this before I have those calls, or the calls really dictate like, here's your checklist from those calls.
Well, I think the first thing is like a mindset. It's we're not like we're partners with our property managers. We want to shine the spotlight on the best operators. And so I can almost tell you ballpark what your score is going to be just in terms of like how on guard you are with talking about your performance. The companies that come into the conversation where they're like, "Hey, I want to improve, help me," that usually goes really well. And like you kind of get out of it what you put into it. And that mindset's really key. But how we look at the score, you can't really game it. You can do things once you're aware of like how you can improve, like, and that's communicated in our process. You can definitely move the needle, usually within your performance category, which is the number, the largest category of the score. But like trust and credibility are things like, are you licensed? Are you properly insured? How transparent are you with, say, things like in cost pricing? How long have you been in business? How many doors are you managing? Is that trending up, trending down? What's your online sentiment from owners, not just tenants? We're looking at all of these things and objectively scoring with this TrueMatch score. So if we score you one way, we score another property manager in your market, you have the confidence that we use the exact same system every time with the utmost integrity. That's really the foundation of what we're doing is like
And I'm assuming based on the criteria, you have very little there's very little room for somebody to get upset or say, hey, I really want to negotiate my score because it's just like here, these are hard and fast, and this is how we score people. And so it's very um black and white.
Yeah, we try to keep it pretty. We try to make it pretty easy, just in terms of like bandwidth for your team to get your true match score. What I will say that we run into frequently is just bad data. Um, and I'm not going to say what systems like we see better data structure. I'm not here to like advocate for a specific vendor, but whether you're using like Appfolio or Buildium or Rentvine, all those companies do that a little bit differently. It's still the same information, right? But it's like, how do you present it? How do you organize it? And I mean, even as some of the biggest companies like Appfolio, Buildium, Rentvine, like the data is a mess. And so it's really eye opening that there's a lot of companies that you pay our fee to get verified and maintain that verification. We're just us helping you clean your data up is worth
It's worth it. Yeah.
10x because with I don't know how these companies operate with the this data the way it is because how are they making decisions on their operational KPIs just as a company?
Yep.
And so people come into the conversation thinking, hey, I want leads, I want growth. Like, hey, are you another all property management? They realize that we're looking at it a different way, that we absolutely help with growth. We always say, um, we have the tagline that, credibility is our currency, right? Leads end up becoming the outcome, like growth and leads end up becoming the outcome. Credibility is the currency, but like the strongest foundation for credibility is a company that like knows their data, knows their KPIs, and operates well.
Yeah, you're trying to become like the standard in property management, right? If I get this certification or this score from propertymanager.com, it's almost like not a governing body, but it's almost like, oh, this is like a stamp of approval. Like we're, are under this umbrella. And it gives us as property management companies um, a little bit more, what am I looking for? Just like more valuable. Like we're valuable because we have a certain level based on this governing body, if you will. So I think it's a really interesting concept that you have. Um,
Yeah, yeah. The investor will drive, like the client, the homeowner, the investor will drive a lot of the urgency. There's already, we're have a pretty substantial like verification queue happening right now. Like people are jumping on board with this, but there'll be like late adopters that sort of feel like they have to jump on board, and they'll do that when their investors, their clients start approaching them with, "Hey, why are you not verified on propertymanagement.com? What's your true match score?" And that's we're not. This isn't like a new concept. Carfax, just to use that analogy again, that's what happened, right? If a person saw show me the Carfax commercial, went to the dealer to go buy a car, they're talking to the kind of side talking salesman, and then the salesman thinks he's got the sale, he's going to close the deal, And then at the last minute, the consumer says, "Hey, show me the Carfax." If they didn't have a Carfax report, what did that salesman do right after? They probably went into the GM's office and said, "Hey, you got to buy that Carfax subscription. Like we need this to be able to sell." And so I think that's probably going to be what will happen in our industry because it'll just be such a better experience for the investor. And final thought on that is like think about what this will do for retention. The whole concept the grass is always greener. If your clients aren't telling you that, they're leaving and that's what they're thinking. They're getting the sales pitch. You're losing doors, you're churning doors to the other property manager in your market that's pitching the grass is greener. Make them prove the grass is greener. And if you can prove you have a high TrueMatch score and you're focused on that, you're maintaining that, you're communicating that to your clients, they're going to stay. So it's not just a sales tool or operations tool, it's a retention tool that will obviously help with your growth as well.
Do you think it's possible though? Let's say I have an 87 and one of my competitors has a 93. Do you think it's possible that someone would leave for 5, 6 points? Um, like, oh, I saw your competitor on, propertymanager.com and they have a 93, you only have an 87. So I'm going to go ahead and go to those guys.
Well, it just depends on what their priorities are as like an investor. And if you think about, well, what I mean by that is there's four categories. The cost and performance really are baked into the concept of ROI. Like these are investments. They're the investor, the client's looking for an ROI. Trust and credibility really fall into what I would call peace of mind. Like they just want to feel good that they're working with a good company that communicates well. They feel like safe, the secure, like these guys got it taken care of. And so if I care more about my peace of mind, I want to look for a company that's high on trust and credibility. If
Got
I'm
it.
looking for a
You
company
have
that
score. So each you have scores of four different categories, and then you have a final score.
that's exactly right. Yeah, that's exactly right. And also in a market, so let's say there's a market like Atlanta. In a market like Atlanta, there's probably, I think in our system, we're tracking something like 50 or 60 companies. Realistically, the realtor doing the property management at a small scale, like realistically, there's probably like 100 plus property manager options in that market, aside from just self-managing. And so we're not looking to have 100 clients in Atlanta. The reality is it's going to be like that 80-20 principle. It'll probably be the top 20, not necessarily in score or in performance or like TrueMatch score. It's going to be the top 20 that recognize that they can play a different game and that they can stand out and that value that ability to kind of differentiate. Those are going to be the companies that are going to be drawn to us. And then they'll just be playing kind of at a different, set of rules as the rest of the market.
Um, do you are you guys working? So, a couple questions. One is how long does it typically take to get onboarded from a company? I know you have the 2 20-minute deals. Is it really that simple, or do I have to go back and maybe clean up books? Like, so on average, how long does it take? Is it like a couple weeks, a month?
Yeah. Yeah, Pete, if you signed up today, you would be 3 days out on the initial 20-minute call. Like you could push that and be like super proactive and we'd talk again Friday. But we would have that score back to you by Tuesday or Wednesday that following week. Obviously, if you're super slammed or something and you're busy and you push out like 2 weeks and you're like, it's more of an internal thing, like it can take a little bit longer because we do ask for some stuff from your team. But
Absolutely.
what we're asking for is access to your reports. Takes 5 minutes, or you send them to us, might take 10 minutes. And then some other information that might take another 10 minutes. And so that's literally the only thing standing in the way. We don't want it to feel like a mortgage application. No one likes like applying for a mortgage. It's just like a dreadful, terrible process. So yeah, that sort of comes from my property management background where I recognize that property managers are intensely busy. Um,
Do you push people when you're kind of looking at it? Are you pushing people to the NARPM accounting standards? Do you even know about those at all? Or
I mean, when you think about a company like a Profit Coach, that I know also like pushes the NARPM accounting standards, it's not even competitive at all. It's super complementary. Like our best clients are probably the types of people that are working with a Profit Coach.
Mhm.
And that's really a great way to kind of standardize the data. We're more looking at like the data around your performance unrelated to your like financials, like your P&L.
Got it.
Like you could be a 97 TrueMatch score, just top 1% of 1%, but you could be running at a 10% margin because you're just fueling rapid growth or something.
Sure.
It's really apples and oranges, but I would imagine, and this might get more formalized in the future. We'll see how it plays out. But I would imagine the companies it's the opposite. High true match scores will mean higher margin.
Now, this is a NARPM podcast, so I have to ask, by being a NARPM member, does that help with the score in any way? By being a NARPM designee or having some those RMPs or MPMs?
Yeah, so credibility and trust. Like if I'm an investor homeowner and I want a good property manager, I have a feeling that being a NARPM member probably has like just a data science perspective, like correlation to higher trust, higher credibility. And so we're sort of like the way we'll talk about the different, like the scoring, like we're not going to give the full like algorithm equation away of like, here's exactly how we do it. But I can say like accreditation like NARPM, it's working in your favor from the
Sure.
trust and credibility side of things. Absolutely. And we're long term, what's going to be really interesting is that more and more data we have, we'll be able to look at what vendors in the space, what affiliations like with a NARPM do the strongest companies have? Like, is Appfolio, does that drive a higher true match score or just Buildium? I don't know. I sort of can see some
Over
of the data
over
so
over
far.
time, yeah, over time you'll be able to really dive into all those. You'll be able to cut and slice that data in numerous ways, I would guess.
Well, and performance is the number one, is the largest piece of the pie in terms of the weight of the score. It's things like market, what are rent do you achieve relative to market rent? What are your total days without revenue, which is combining like your leasing process with your turn process. All those things are really important, but the reality is like the best companies are oftentimes affiliated with NARPM, and the reason for that is because they have access to the latest and greatest of tools and vendors.
Yep.
So a company like there's all these maintenance companies and AI companies coming out, but like a Property Meld, great tool, right? Like helps with maintenance. The leasing tools or automations, like
Tenant
those
turnover.
those tenant turner, those choices drive your performance, whether you're tracking it or not, right? Like, do you do self showings or do you do real in-person leasing agents? Like being able to help like make those decisions based on the data that we'll have will really, really give our, verified clients an advantage.
All right, so now let's flip it to the other side. So I'm a property manager. I go through the whole process. I decide this is great. I mean, pay for the, I'm guessing it's a monthly subscription of some sort to be on there. I got a good score. I'm super excited. How are you guys getting the word out on the other side for the investors? Like, how do I know that this is going to, because at the end of the day, right, I want it to produce some leads for me, right? So even though it's not a quote unquote lead generator, it really is in a way, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you search who's the best property manager, Dallas, Texas, you're going to see propertymanagement.com organically ranking.
Nice.
When I bought the site, I won't get into all the details. It's really fascinating, but it'll take like 10 minutes. So I'll kind of skip to the end. The site was at an all-time level and then completely crashed. The guy that was running it just treated it like a directory. That was kind of his world. He did that with a lot of different businesses. It crashed. But the domain is the keyword domain. It is the number one valued domain in our industry, $100 billion recurring revenue industry. And so I couldn't believe how many inbound leads we were getting from literally day one when we launched the site, when
Wow.
we relaunch on day one. And so we already have a lot of that exposure. But where our property management clients are going to have the most value is how we navigate the new AI search frontier. Like the property managers that are out there right now that aren't aware of the impact AI search is having on how people are finding property managers, you might be sitting there going, why am I not getting as many leads as I was getting before? It's because people are using things like ChatGPT,
Yep.
Perplexity to find property managers. And we're seeing that.
It's funny you say that. I'm starting to get leads from ChatGPT now for virtual assistants.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Isn't it amazing? It's cool to hear you like, hey, how'd you hear about us? They're like,
Chat.
I was trying to grow my business and I heard you guys are who we should talk to do that with, hiring a remote team member. So, yeah. And when you think about what's happening with AI search, 'cause everybody's going to talk about AI, and I'm not going to be the guy that's going to go into, you should be writing your emails and the processes and building software, whatever. I can talk about it for how it's going to affect you with your leads and growth, how people are finding you. When you look at like large language models like a ChatGPT, what they care about that's different from old school SEO, like traditional Google search, they care about trust, credibility, and third party validation with an emphasis on third party validation. They care about, like, if you typed right now, who is the best property manager, Dallas, Texas, into ChatGPT and click the sources, it tells you literally the sites they use to reference what drove their recommendation. Every single time you'll see propertymanagement.com, but you'll see Yelp, you'll see Better Business Bureau, which I have some takes on, but like it is a third party. You're going to see Zillow, different, random sites that are third party. They don't care about the content on your site.
Right.
So if you're spending a bunch of money on traditional SEO, writing blogs on your site, that's not how people are going to be finding you in the future. They're going to be finding you because you're highly recommended on these third party tools that say you're good. And it's not review based or pay to play based. The TrueMatch score is objective third party, like performance verified data.
Right.
We're making our site, propertymanagement.com, and your company profiles, we want to be scraped by the large language models. We want them to send their crawlers to our site and ingest our data into their models. That's a very new concept. Usually in a directory, you want to make it really, really difficult for someone to like come in and take your data, like your directory. We want the opposite, so that our clients will now be able to show up with one of the best domains behind them, propertymanagement.com, to drive that credibility and third-party validation.
That's eye-opening. If you're listening to this, that right there, that 5 minutes or whatever, right to the last 5 minutes, rewind it and listen to it again. The old way of doing things is not going to be the new way of doing things. The SEO and getting Google, it's going to be through these AI models, and that's really interesting. And it seems like you're on the forefront of that.
Yeah, and if you're a big company and you're on the first page and you get all your leads and it's declining, but you're still in a pretty happy spot, you can choose one of two paths. It's the AI tsunami coming, and you can either treat it like, let's just see how this all settles, and tsunami comes in and we'll just see where it all lands. Or you can think about it like the AI gold rush. Completely different mindset. It's an abundant mindset. It's a, hey, let's go out and like be first movers here, and let's be proactive, and let's set the tone, grab the market share with this new way. People are going to find local companies. I think those are going to be the companies. Like, you can be small and you could be on like the fifth page or just starting a property management company today, and you could show up on ChatGPT tomorrow. Like it is amazing how fast that's happening. And it's a lot just about mindset, how you approach it.
Now, are you going to limit the number of companies per market that get this score, or you're just going to take as many as you can, so that let's say in Houston or Atlanta, you had that example earlier on. There's 120 companies. Are you going to take a percentage of that, or if you get 120 people that 120 companies that want to join on the platform, you can take them all?
Yeah, we'll take anyone that wants to get verified. And that's a really key part of like the high trust, high credibility, kind of integrity part of what we're going to do. But what will likely happen is that you're going to have the first movers and major metros that get verified. They realize they can use this as a sales enablement tool. By standing out, they can close at a higher, like you're closing at a 20% rate. Maybe you're getting 20 leads a month at a 20% close rate. If you get those same leads, and let's act like none of them are from us, even though some would be, you now close at a 25% rate.
Right.
I think the math there, if I remember, it's like 12 additional doors. So from a sales enablement standpoint, like you're going to close better with this tool. We don't really care about like how many companies are signed up. It's really going to be more so about how these companies are using the score, like internally in their communication, retention to their clients, on their sales calls. Like those are going to be the companies that use it and stand out, like show it prominently and kind of use it as a differentiator. Us as a company, separate from our clients, we're going to be pushing a very substantial, like hundreds of thousands of dollars in marketing spend on an awareness campaign to the consumer investor.
Right.
So you imagine an investor in, let's say you're a property manager in, I don't know,
Houston.
Houston, Texas. Imagine if every single investor, homeowner that has maybe it's self management or it's also they already work with a third party manager. Imagine them getting a mailer from propertymanagement.com that lets them know that they can now have their property manager, have a true match score. How does their property manager rank compared to what the best would be in that market? We'll be able to drive a lot of that influence. And so it's, do you want to be the company that's like included in that marketing and the leads are funneled to you because you earned it? Or do you want to like wait and see what happens and see how the market reacts to that? I personally, like I've built this to be something I would want to use myself as a property manager. And man, everybody's always looking for the silver bullet. This isn't a silver bullet. Like you've got to earn the score and you've got to use it. But it definitely puts, another tool in the tool belt.
I love it. All right, Matt, if somebody's interested in learning more about propertymanagement.com, how to get in touch with you?
Yeah, this one's easy. Go to propertymanagement.com and then up in the top right, I think it's get verified. You can set a call up um, with us and we can walk you through this. Again, 30 minutes. You're 30 minutes away from being able to at least consider getting a true match score and finding a way to differentiate yourselves.
And if you're listening to this and you're not part of NARPM, you can join. Go to narpm.org, narpm.org, or you give them a call at 800-782-3452. And if you do get True Match and all those leads come in, you need a virtual assistant to kind of take on those leads to pre-qualify some folks before they get them to your BDMs. Go to vpmsolutions.com or email me, Pete at vpmsolutions.com. Matt, thanks so much for being here, buddy.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you.